Alright, welcome back friends. In this episode we are looking at CSS classes, okay? And I am using this chart here as a case study. Okay, so we can see from here that it is telling us where the class used to styles. Okay, so we can see in our HTML H1 element, we have implemented a class with an attribute of blue. Okay, and you can see from here that when it comes to CSS, we quoted the blue and give it a color of blue. I want to take this note. Okay, you can see that in the class, the file extension that you use or the extension that you use for the class is for dots before the class name. Okay, so take note of that. Now let's head towards our browser. We understand it better. I have changed all my heading tags to H1. Okay, and I have also changed all the heading tags, the subheadings. I've changed them to P tags. Okay, all right. Now we come to our CSS code. Then let's clear everything. We clear everything from our CSS. Let's save it and let's refresh it in the browser. Let's open it in the browser and see how it turns. Now you can see we have pure HTML, no CSS. All right. Now let's head towards our style sheet and call our H1 tag, and let's give it a color property of blue. Now head towards your browser, save it and refresh. And we can see that all our heading is now blue. Now we ask ourselves a question. We are working on a project where we are having a multiple H1 heading tags. And in the same proceeding, we want to change the appearance of this H1 in the second heading section. How can that one be? Because if I call the selector and style it, the style that I'm going to apply here is going to affect all of the H1 tags that I'm having. If it's about 1,000 H1 tags, it's going to affect it. But that be the case that I don't want it to affect maybe a particular heading tags which have the same selector as an H1. How do I do that? Okay, that is where the classes and the ID step in to make our life simple, okay, in coding. So now, what if I want to change this heading color to a different color, not blue? We can equally do that by calling our class or an ID. In this episode, we are looking at classes. So what we have to do is to type the word class with an attribute, okay? So Sublime Text is predicting the class with an attribute for us. So what you have to put in here is the name of what we want to give to this particular header. We can name it anything, but let it be related to what that header is about so that you may not forget, because we are going to use that name to style it. Okay, take note of that. Now, I would like to call this one heading 2 because this is our second heading. Now, I'll save it. I'll come to my style sheet or my CSS. And what I'll do is that I have to call this heading 2. I have to call this heading 2. But before you call the heading 2, we are dealing with classes. So when we head back to our chart, we can see that to call a class, you need an extension, which is the dot. Also, okay. So classes use dot as an extension. So immediately I do dot, the Sublime Text would suggest, or the program will suggest that I'm going to call the class. Okay. So dot, then what will be the name of the class? I said heading 2. Now here I can go ahead and write my own rules for my second heading. Let's do something. Let's give it a color of tomato. Save it, head towards a browser and refresh. So yeah, let's refresh. And you can see that our second header is having a different color of tomato. Even though it is an H1, but we have found a way to style this particular one separately from the rest of the H1 tags that we have. All right, so now let's see how the same thing also turns in our paragraph tags. So you can see that our P tags, I've changed all the remaining to what a P tag. So let's go and do the same thing and see how that one also turns. So I'll call my P tag. Then let's say we want our P tags to have a background color property of, let's say, navy. Okay. Now we save it. Let's add a text color property of white. Okay, you can do white or you can use the hash code FFFF. Now let's save it and head towards our browser and refresh. And we can see that all our P tags is having a navy background color and our text color has changed to what? White. Now we ask ourselves, what if we want our paragraphs let's say our second paragraph to have something different, okay? Or let's say our second paragraph, we don't want any background color for our second paragraph. So we can equally do that. So all what you have to do is you do the same thing. You call the class with an attribute and give it a name. Let's call this one as what? Paragraph 2. Now I'll head towards my CSS. Then it is a class, so I'll do dot paragraph what 2. Now let's write some rules. Let's give it a background. So in the background color, okay, so please let's get the experience correct. Okay, you can choose to copy the naming convention here and use it. Okay, in order not to make a mistakes, you can equally do that. So okay, now let's make it a background color of red. Okay, for our paragraph 2. Then let's refresh, and we can see our paragraph 2 is having a background color of red. Okay, even though they are all paragraphs, but we have write another rule, we have given it a class, and now we are not using the p tag. When it comes to the code doesn't care about the p tag, it cares about the classes that we are giving to this one, and it is overriding the p tag that we implement for the h1, our paragraph heading 2. Okay, our heading 2, because we are using the class to style it. So this is how you can take advantage of using classes, because in your cases you might be finding yourself in a way that less like the scenario that we are using here, the examples. We can see that we are having a multiples of p tags. So how are you going to style them differently? It is by using your classes, and when you implement your classes, you are good to go. All right. So in a case we don't want the background color, we can give it the same background color that we are using as default. Okay, we are using white background color as default, so we can give it what background color of white. But just that the text color here that we implemented is white, so we cannot see it. So we can also write another color for our text. Then we say black. And we are good to go. Okay, so this is how you take advantage of using classes in your project. Let's get to the next tutorial and learn more. Thank you.